Hey there, you're listening to the Pursue Your Spark podcast. I'm your host, Heike Yates. We're here to help you live a healthy, fit, and confident lifestyle with tips, strategies, and interviews. Listen to the most inspiring women and how they dared to live the life they dreamed of and handle roadblocks in their path. Well, hey there, Heike Yates here, and welcome to another episode of the Pursue Your Spark podcast. Today's interview is incredible. I not only have one guest, but two guests on the show today. But before we dive in, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading the episodes. Thank you for sharing them with your friends that you might think need help with their lifestyle, with their fitness and nutrition. And thank you for all the reviews you're leaving. That really means a lot to me and other listeners. And that also will bring the shows to other people that have not heard about the Pursue Your Spark podcast yet. So thank you. So let's dive in. Today is about the beauty of authenticity. Just recently there was a book published called The Beauty of Authenticity, 23 Stories, One Book. Embracing Your Truth to Live a Life of Meaning, Purpose, and Grace. This book was compiled by Sue Urda and Kathy Filer of Powerful You Publishing. And two of my friends, Lisa Pezik and DeAnne Gauya, are contributors to this #1 Amazon book. It's a collaboration of a group of inspiring women that came together to create or co-author this book. Each of them is an expert in some aspect of business growth, and they're all passionate about assisting others to reach their personal, career, and company goals while staying aligned with their highest value. The lessons and stories they share are immediately actionable and serve to inspire, motivate, and guide the reader to success, the book says. But what I've learned through this interview with my good friends Lisa Pezik and DeAnne Gauya is be true, be you, with one of the mottos. We need more women leaders, with another. You are not alone, was the third. And take time for yourself, was the fourth. So without further ado, welcome to the show and welcome to the beauty of authenticity. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Pursue Your Spark podcast. I am super excited. We have two guests on the show today. We hear a lot about authentic living and being authentic in social media these days, but what is it exactly and how can we reach authenticity is some of the questions we're talking today about with my two guests, and they're Lisa Pezik and DeAnne Gauya. They're contributing authors of the #1 Amazon bestseller, The Beauty of Authenticity. So who better to ask than those two ladies? Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Thank you, Heike.
Awesome. So DeAnne, why don't you start off and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you like to do, and, just so they can relate to you.
Sure. So my name's DeAnne Gauya, and I have had a career in the health and fitness, holistic health and fitness for about 30 years, except for a little brief detour in corporate America for 7 years. And but I'm back, and my passion is really helping midlifers, and the age group for me is 60, 70, 80s and above, live optimal lives full of fitness and choices and all the rest. And I just love what I do. I'm branching out into the world of online from offline, and I am looking to reach as many people as possible. And in my free time, I'm a single mom with 2 teenagers and a turtle and a gecko and 2 kitty cats. And I love to do yoga. I love to hike, spend time in nature, surf, and travel the world. So my motto is less stress, more joy, I want to live that life.
That's an amazing motto. I love it. I know that you are a big time surfer because I see it on your brand as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
One of the tidbits that you haven't shared and I thought was interesting that you worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the White House.
I did. I was a member of the White House fitness staff during the Bush administration, Bush 1. And Arnold at the time was the head of the Presidential Council on Physical Fitness. And so we got to do a bunch of different events together.
I think that was a cute tidbit. I thought I wanted to share that with the listeners because who can tell they met Arnold?
Yeah, I even have a picture with me and Arnold, and it's very funny because I was standing on a riser, so I actually look taller than he is. And people see the picture, they're like, "Oh my God!"
So fun. Now let's get to you, Lisa. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a content and digital marketer. I am a mom to a 5-year-old named Oliver who keeps our life interesting and fun. And I've been married 10 years to my husband, Eric. And we work together, play together, parent together, run our business together. We're one of those really annoying couples that just loves to do everything together. And we don't drive each other too crazy too much of the time. But what we do is I head up the content side of our business. So I help people with their video, with their Facebook lives, their course creation, anything that's video or speaking or writing. That is my jam. That is what I love to help other people bring out their gold and their goods and their message to the world. And that's what lights me up. And then my husband runs the whole digital side. So I really quite despise technology. I don't really like to know how anything clicks and connects. And Eric always laughs and says, babe, when you hit the button harder, when you hit the keyboard harder, it doesn't make it work any better. So I just like technology is like a hot button for me. So and that I think that can be a real roadblock and stopping point for a lot of people. So that was pretty cool when we decided that we were going to join forces and really take people through when they launch something or get online, really every single step and part of that process from the creation to the tech to launching it, to then running ads to it and getting eyeballs on it. Mm-hmm. And we've developed a wonderful team of people from all around the world that help us carry out that mission. And I feel like, you know, life's just too short. Like people say, oh, I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll chase that dream tomorrow, or I'll be happy when. Yeah. And, you know, tomorrow's not a given. I'm a nurse by degree. That's actually what I went to college for. And I had the opportunity to work in palliative care and end-of-life care and intensive care. And that really gave me the perspective that, you know, all we have is the here and the now. Yeah. And that's, we got to live just for each day and do it. Don't wait. You have something you want to do it now.
Do it now. I'm going to be heading to the beach after our interview. That's what I'm going to do.
Awesome. I love it.
Now, we're talking about the beauty of authenticity, which is the title of the book that includes 23 stories from different women, and the two of you are contributors to this bestseller. Now, DeAnne, how did you get too involved with this book and what made you want to participate?
So I got involved because of my good friend, Lisa Pezik, who I never would have known about this opportunity if it wasn't for her. She forwarded an email to me asking if I was interested in being a part of this project. And I honestly have wanted to do a lot more writing. That's been kind of on my list of goals for the year. And authenticity is a key word in my brand. I had kind of 3 adjectives that my brand is all about. And authenticity, or being authentic, is one of those. Resilient is another. Centered is another. So when Lisa said that the title of the book is going to be The Beauty of Authenticity, I thought it doesn't get better than this. And so I was immediately intrigued and so motivated to be a part of this project that I actually didn't have the money to be a part of this, because you have to pay, when you get published. So I mentioned it to a good client of mine, and she looked at me, she goes, "You look so excited by this." She's like, "What does your heart tell you to do, DeAnne?" I says, "My heart says, do it. Just do it. And she's like, okay, I'll make it happen for you. And she fronted me all the money. Anyway, the money required to make it happen. And I told Lisa about it. She's like, holy crap, DeAnne. I'm like, I just want to do this,
Yes.
So anyways, I am so grateful to Lisa for.
Yeah. So Lisa, how did you come across it then? Because you were the instigator. Yeah.
I was. The Powerful You Publishing, who puts out the anthology books, they actually found me through my website and my YouTube page and some of the social media and things that I was putting out, just the free education, the free marketing that I was putting out. And they said, we've read some of your blogs. We listened to a podcast. We've been kind of checking you out about who you are and what you do.
Nice.
And authenticity seems to be a word that means something to you. We would love to have you in this book. And being a part of a book was not on my 2019 plan. Speaking was the jam that I was getting into this year, and writing was kind of going to be taking the back burner. But when I, similar to DeAnne, when I heard about it was sharing your personal stories and it was all about authenticity and living your truth, I just thought that was such a needed message in the world right now. That I was like, I don't know if I want to put the money to this. And, I was like, I just don't know if that's where I want to invest. But the message and the purpose, I had to do, it was a no-brainer. I said, I had to do this. And then she said, do you know anyone else that has a really inspiring story? Or do you know any other inspiring women that could be in the book? And I had already been having a few conversations with DeAnne, and DeAnne was one of the first people that I thought of. And that's what I love to do. Is I love reaching goals, but I love doing it with friends and peers and taking other people along for the ride. So that was where. Yeah.
I always say we can do more together.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah. So Lisa, what does authenticity mean to you? Describe it with your own words, because I know we have all a different sense of what authentic means to oneself. What is your take?
Authenticity to me is really going deep inside yourself and getting real with yourself about who you are, how you serve the world, or maybe it's not even the world. Maybe it's how you serve your family and the people close to you, the people that matter to you and the causes that matter to you. It's digging deep and finding that out and being real and honest with yourself, because maybe the things that matter to me don't matter to you. Maybe the things that light me up don't light you up. Maybe the causes that I want to be a part of aren't causes that other people could understand. And that could be everything from business to parenting to marriage to just the way that we live our life and the choices that we make.
Yeah.
And authenticity to me is being honest with yourself, being pure in your thoughts and your, that kind of do no harm, do good, kind of speak from your highest self. And that's not to say that everything is rainbows and sunshine and perfect and you never, act out of character, but it's checking yourself when you do, when you're speaking words that aren't congruent with who you know that you are, or you're showing up in a way that isn't the true essence of who you are. And I think as women, or I could say I have felt as a woman in business, as a mom, there's just a lot of opinions and judgments and all sorts of things being thrown, especially upon women in the world, that it's easy to lose that sense of who you are and what matters to you. So authenticity is an internal deep dive for me.
Yeah, it's living by somebody else's expectations is what many are striving for that I'm talking to, instead of being, like you just said, authentic to what you really are, what you're deep down in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, DeAnne?
So I completely agree with Lisa. I think that it definitely starts with a deep dive. And when I've been really thinking about what it means to me, I think that there's two pieces. One is awareness, which really requires you to do that deep dive and to really know who you are and honor the real you. It's like that old expression, to thine own self be true, be true to you. And so if you know who you are, like you really have this really strong sense of essence of who you are, what you're all about, what your values are, what you want to achieve in the world. That's super that you know that. And then the second piece is having the courage and the strength to show up as that person over and over again, regardless of the external circumstances, or for a lot of us, the feedback we get from others. Because I think, as my story in the book I share, I kind of went off into a very bad place because I listened to others rather than listening to my inner voice, listening to my own intuition and my inner guidance system. So I think that authenticity is really all about alignment. When you align everything in your life with who you are, your essence, that creates ease. It just becomes like easy and natural. And when you are misaligned with who you are versus, and the external circumstances or the people in your life or what you're doing, that creates a lot of stress.
Yeah. Now, you touched on something that when we prepared for the interview, we touched on a little bit, and I thought it was an important message to include and talk about, is the messages that we were given growing up. How do they form us into what we are now, and how do we align this or get out of the old picture and become more authentic? And what do you do with the messages that you were given in your past, DeAnne?
So again, it first comes to, I think, awareness is the beginning of everything. So being aware of the messages that were kind of our internal dialogue, and then who is talking. And so for me, one of the examples that I can give from my childhood, my father always made fun of me for being very sensitive. Like I've always been a very sensitive person to everything. I'm empathic, which he didn't use that word, but he would make fun of me. And my brother, he's like, "Oh, your sister, she just has the senses. Oh, she's so sensitive to everything." Like it was something to be ashamed of. And then I also was brought up Catholic and very strict Catholic. And so I always had this idea that if I did anything like that I wasn't supposed to do, that like a lightning bolt was going to come down and strike me. And I had a very strict grandmother who nothing I did was ever right. Nothing was ever good enough. If I did X, it was like, "You're doing X, why aren't you doing Y?" If I did Y, it's like, "You're doing Y, why aren't you doing X? Your hair's too this, you're too fat, you're too this." And so
how did you shed these? How did you shed these preconceived impressions that were put on you?
Again, it was awareness and really putting myself into circumstances with people who honored who I was and who gave me different feedback than my family's feedback.
I think that's important. Honored who you are. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Lisa?
Oh, I can relate to a lot of what DeAnne is saying. I grew up strict Catholic as well. But I think the big change or the big thing that I experienced was I grew up in that typical blue collar working family that was like clock in, clock out, be thankful you have a job, be thankful for what you have, keep your head down, don't make waves, don't open your mouth, don't speak up. That it caused me, A, to constantly be a people pleaser, and B, I felt guilty. Like, who am I to deserve wealth? Who am I to deserve happiness or accomplishments? Or it was like, get big, but don't get too big. Put yourself out there, but don't put yourself out there too much. Ask for this amount of money in your job, but not this much. Or, in the entrepreneurial world, it's like, I want to speak on stage and convert this amount, but maybe I'll just convert this amount because that's a safe amount, or don't take risks. So it left me kind of caged, and it left me constantly putting ceilings on what I thought was possible for me. And when there were points in my life, such as the nursing career. I actually didn't want to be a nurse. That wasn't a career that I chose. I loved the profession. It taught me so much, but my mom pushed me into that it was, you're going to be the, responsible nurse that gets a good paycheck and saves the world and in the white scrubs. And it was more of an honor thing, a look at me, than it was an actual, what do you want? What are your talents and what do you want to do with your life? So it left me feeling almost never being able to feel joy. Like I was always waiting for the next thing to drop, or, not feeling deserving of all the hard work and the success that I was getting.
Yeah.
I almost didn't want to tell people about that.
Oh, interesting. Both of your stories, I can so relate to what bits and pieces you said based on my own history, because I grew up feeling stupid. I was never smart enough to learn guitar. I was never smart enough to go to a higher education. And that's still haunting me to the day. Like you just said, Lisa, I was pushed into a job that I hated.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I had to listen to my dad telling me, like you said, DeAnne, my dad telling me that I was not going to use the word online, but that I was a bad girl. And so it can so relate to that. And it's such a struggle to disengage from these messages. And and in the media right now, like for instance, the Me Too movement is one example, is that women all around the world are dealing with the issue of authenticity. And why, Lisa, do you think it is especially important right now for women to be authentic?
I think the world is desperate for leaders, real, true, heart-centered, real, raw, vulnerable people, because I believe our leadership is quite skewed across so many things.
Yes.
I'm not going to get in. That's a whole nother podcast I'm sure we could get into, but just the messages that we're all receiving are not always kind and pure and honest and true and the real essence of humanity.
Yeah.
And I just believe that, we keep two things I hear a lot. I feel so lonely and I feel so disconnected, people say. And it's crazy that when we're in an age of online, or we're in an age of technology, we're text messaging people now and Facebook messaging happy birthday to people. And we're not forming true connections and conversations anymore with people. So the more people that stand up and tell their story and deep dive and really get into the things they've been through, it makes people go, me too. Like literally like, wow, you've experienced that. I've experienced something like that. And maybe I'm not the crazy one. And maybe I don't feel so alone. Yeah. And the other thing is we're constantly we're blaming. We're looking to the person to the left and to the right to say, well, they're going to stand up and make change, or they're going to be the one to speak up. And we can't control what other people do. We can only control what we do. So I think the more that we own our experiences and we're willing to share, like in this book and online and in conversations and coffee chats, the more we're willing to share with people, the more deeper connection that we can make. And maybe we'll have less violence and craziness and hate in this world because we realize we're all one and we're all connected.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with it more. What do you think, DeAnne?
So once again, I completely agree with everything that Lisa said. And I think that particularly for women, I think also men, I don't like to disclude men and have it be a male-female thing, but, because it's all women authors in this book, the stories reach different people on different levels and speak to them. But the feedback I've gotten from a lot of people who've read the book is like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I read this story and I, number one, felt like it's not just me. And then I'm also, I think sometimes people can be their own biggest critic and they only see the negative or the things they're not doing or the things that's not right about them. And they focus on that and let that become a big part of kind of who they think they are.
Yeah.
And, I think that through these stories, you see that you're so much bigger than your problems, and that there really is nothing wrong with you, that what's right with you can't heal, and that healing and overcoming adversity and hitting your rock bottom and bouncing back is so possible, and that nothing is set in stone. And I just think the possibilities and the power of possibility is just so potent in this book. And that authenticity, the more people I think who can really show up as themselves and honoring that, expressing their unique gifts with the world in their unique way, the whole ripple of empowerment goes out and out and out, and we all see that we all have these amazing gifts, and that we're no two are alike. And I just think the world would be a much, much better place. People wouldn't have to hide themselves in, drugs or alcohol or gambling or whatever they hide themselves in. I think it's just like this big freedom movement that could be kind of let go. The more of us that do it, the more power it gains.
Yeah. I can only agree that with everything you've said and the power this book has with 23 different stories. And again, authenticity is about feeling vulnerable, facing fears, learn to trust, taking courage, love yourself, and not be alone. So, DeAnne, can you give us a brief glimpse into your story? Because, of course, we want the listeners to buy the books, but just a couple of sentences of what your struggles or what your authentic story is about.
Okay, so my story is called The Life Surfer. And life surfing is all about, you can't stop the waves of life, but you can learn how to surf. And so for me, it was a journey of being very aligned with my gifts and a career that I absolutely loved and had loved for 20 years. And then for various reasons, mostly listening to other people and not honoring my own intuition, I got talked into jumping into corporate America and becoming a CEO from a 20-year career in holistic health and well-being. And it almost killed me. And then I came full circle, and the Life Surfer and my brand, Gauya Fit Life Surfing, was born.
Cool. How about you, Lisa?
My story is all about the dynamic and the dance between my mom and I growing up. And it started with a lot of directives about how I was going to live my life. And then when I didn't agree or tried to set out on my own path, it then led to insults and comments about my weight and comments about my marriage and comments about our son, and just really turned incredibly abusive. And I didn't realize that growing up. When you're, behind those closed doors in your family unit, you don't know what you don't know until you step out into reality. And I had started to pull back more in my life and engage less, and received a series of text messages that quite upset me. And I was driving my car, distracted and upset and overwhelmed from these words from my mom. And I was in the car alone, and I heard someone or something yell "stop" after I got these text messages. And just as I slammed on my brake and I looked up, a transport truck almost wiped me out.
Whoa.
And that was the moment when I realized, that enough was enough, that I couldn't allow this critic, even though she wore the title mom. My chapter is all about leaving the critic and loving the real me. And after I decided to cut off contact for my sanity, for my family, for my health, I ended up losing over 100 pounds in the process, because I just shed all the emotions and the trauma that I was holding on to. And it was breaking that norm that, if there are people in your life, no matter who they are, if they're negative and they're impacting you, you get to choose how you want to spend your time and who you want to spend that with. So my story was all about leaving that really was a crossroad for me in my life where I chose to take a different path and a different road after that experience.
Yeah. Now, what was the hardest part for you, Lisa, to reach authenticity? What was the one thing that you said that was the most difficult thing?
Ooh.
Tough, right? I know I'll give you only one.
That's a good question.
It's like, ooh.
I think the one thing was, honestly, it was just worrying about other people. I created all this false fear in my head that so-and-so is going to be mad at me, or so-and-so is going to think I'm a terrible person, or what if I do this and I fall flat on my face and I fail? And, I let the what ifs and the fears kind of drive me. And then when I got the courage to set my own path and do the things I needed to do for my health and happiness, I realized that all of those scenarios that I played out in my head, none of it happened. It was all false worry and fear and stuff that just wasn't real. And then the regret kind of hit because I was like, damn, I should have done that 5 years ago, or I should have done that a year ago. I let myself kind of play in that imaginary, fearful world instead of being present and really going, what do I want right now? And let me go and do that.
Yeah. DeAnne, how about you? What was your hardest part, or the one thing that was the hardest part for you to reach your authenticity?
I guess it's twofold. One is tuning out the opinions or the messages and opinions of others, and like thanks for sharing, but I'm doing this anyway, whatever it is. For me, the messages, particularly from friends, were just so strong. And it really influenced me and created a lot of doubt. And so it was tuning those messages out was hard for me. And then really being comfortable, and I'm still working on this with authenticity, being comfortable stepping into my power and being completely like who I am, and not in a vain way or a way that where you're just obnoxious about it, but in a way that's just strong and true and like, yeah, okay. And I can take compliments and I can hear people say you're really good at what you do, and not like kind of apologize it away, like just being like, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's very good. I like that too. It's like, don't listen to everybody telling you what to do. And then they're so opinionated and you're like, yeah, they got to be right.
Right, exactly. And I have to say, I mean, you don't want swears, but a friend of mine a long time ago said something which really stuck with me and just makes me laugh. He looked at me, he's like, DeAnne, you're always listening to everybody else. He goes, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, that's so true.
Write this on your whiteboard or make a note. Oh, that's I love that. So what is the number one thing, DeAnne, that you would tell other women trying to reach authenticity and live unapologetically? What's your number one? Go girl, do it.
Be true, be you. That's it. Just
good.
Be true, be you.
Awesome. Lisa.
Take time for yourself. When you're so busy caretaking others, if you're a mom or a wife or an entrepreneur or a worker, or, if you're a lover on other people, that's amazing. But don't forget that you've got to give yourself that same gift, because for me, that's where all that deep dive of who I really am and what I really want came about, when I gave myself that gift of time for me.
I love it. I love it. These are two amazing tips. I mean, the whole podcast is just amazing. I don't know if anybody, like all the listeners, will just sit there and probably listen to it over and over again. But what the listeners do want to know is, Lisa, how can they reach you?
Yeah, my website, www.Pezik.com. You'll see all my goodies, my podcast, my blogs. You can buy the book on there. There's all sorts of goodies on there of free content and other content as well. My website's just my name, lisapezik.com.
Perfect. DeAnne.
So I have a website, and it's www.gauyafit, GAUYAFIT.com. And I'm also on every social media platform out there. And you can very easily find me if you Google me, DeAnne, DeAnne, middle initial C, last name Gauya. I am the only person who comes up, the only person who has that name. So you can find every which way to contact me imaginable.
So you guys are also on social, Lisa?
Yeah.
Social handles are Lisa Pezik?
Yep. Everything: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. It's all Lisa Pezik. Yep.
Perfect.
And mine's all DeAnne Gauya.
Perfect. That makes it so much easier to find. Sometimes my guests have all these crazy, awesome names, and they're all mixed, and it's really hard to find your link or connect with our listeners. So what I want our listeners to do is buy the book. And where can they buy the book?
On my website, lisapezik.com. If you click on the author tab, you'll see it there. And it's also on my homepage as well.
DeAnne, how about you?
And for me, I don't have the link on my website yet, but when I get the help of Eric Pezik, I'll have that link on my website. But for now, if you just email me or contact me via Facebook, I can get a copy to you, a signed copy, and I'll just get it out in the mail.
Very cool. So people can reach you, can reach out to you. And I want the listeners to share with us by tagging us on Instagram at Pursue Your Spark Podcast, at Lisa Pezik and DeAnne Gauya. Let us know what you think of the episode. Let us know how we can help you, or if this episode helped you in any special or even not so special way, but it just helped you feel better about yourself and take your first step towards your authenticity. So let us know. You can find us easily on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else. But with that in mind, I thank you so much, both of you, for being here. It was awesome hearing your stories and sharing your insights. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you, Heike.
Super. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great day.
You
Bye.
too. Bye. So what do you think? Will you tag us over on Instagram and share your story with us? Or let us know how this podcast may have touched your life and helped you lead a more authentic life, or the steps you might take to a more authentic living. You know you're not alone, and we love to hear from you. So hop on over on Instagram, tag us, and let us know. And as we said in the interview, it's time we need more women leaders. So ladies, let's step up. Until next time, at the Pursue Your Spark podcast, have a most awesome day. I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.